Hi, hello. What's up, Jelly Cups? My name is Crispy Jelly. And yes, I know it's late. This show has been out for quite a while, and so at this point I've spent too much of my life watching this to not make a video. And so it's out there and I'm done, okay? So this is my review of She-Hulk. And before I get started, I've got some things to say. First, there are a lot of She-Hulk reviews out there, and I was a little late to the party, but I still made it, because there's some things that I wanted to say about it that I think apply to more than just this show. So, second, this is the first time I've done something like this, so I'm just kind of throwing myself out there, because I like to try things, you know? And I want to do some reviewing things, just to get my thoughts out there on certain topics and mediums. Lastly, there will be spoilers for She-Hulk and stuff. I also will be showing clips, and in order not to get destroyed by YouTube from copyright reasons, I've got my little buddy here over in the corner who's going to be protecting me from copyright thingies. So here's the way I'm going to structure this video. I'm going to start with a plot summary for each of the episodes of the whole show. It's 9 episodes long. And yes, I watched the whole show for this. So please, stick around. I suffered. So I'll do an analysis of what I think they did wrong and all the parts that made the show fail. And then I will go over how I think they could have done it better. So, sound good? Alright, let's go. So first thing is I needed to watch it, but I didn't want to pay for Disney Plus, so I mean, I found other ways. So with that, let's get to the plot. Alright, episode 1. So right off the bat, our protagonist, who is Jen Walters, overcomes her first obstacle in the form of an intrusive coworker, followed by praise and support from a friend named Nikki. So from what I can tell, she's living a happy, successful life. This then cuts to a fourth wall break, which explains that she is the Hulk, and takes us to a flashback. Keep what I said about her living a happy, successful life in mind, because we'll come back to that. Anyway, this flashback shows that Bruce Banner, aka Hulk, is her cousin, and has been able to return to human form through the use of a little device he wears on his wrist. We are then presented with this gripping conversation.
Says who?
The History Channel. So he becomes Captain America, and from that moment on, a symbol of America, he is rushed to the front lines, he becomes a war hero, then he is frozen in ice.
Right.
So, based on everything you've told me, after he gets unfrozen, he goes from world-threatening disaster to world-threatening disaster. That's when he's not a fugitive from the law, right? So it seems like he was pretty busy.
All you're doing is repeating everything that I've already told you about my friend and colleague.
Obviously, Captain America was a virgin. Look out!
Which then transitions into a car crash caused by Jen not looking at the road. In the space of 2 seconds, this show has presented 2 stereotypes of women. So they crash, and Jen crawls out of the wreckage and attempts to save Bruce. But Bruce is bleeding, and through a cut on one of Jen's arms, some of his blood gets in her arm, and this makes her transform, and yippee, she's a Hulk. Jen then wakes up. It's night, and she stumbles into a bar bathroom to get her bearings. There she runs into a group of women who seem very stereotypically sympathetic, who clean her up and give Jen various articles of clothing. As she waits for Bruce to pick her up, a group of dude bros approaches. They show interest in her, which she declines. They keep pressing on her, and...
Yeah, where you going? So what, you two gonna talk to us?
She almost kills them. Okay. Well, it's fine. She was clearly being controlled by her Hulk form. It's not like she could control her actions or anything, right? She wakes up at Hulk's beach house lab, where Hulk has brought her to teach her how to control her powers.
Did we hit a spaceship?
Yeah, Sakaran Class A courier craft. They're probably trying to deliver a message. I gotta get to the bottom of that.
We then got this.
You and I, we share a rare combination of genetic factors that allow us to synthesize gamma radiation into something else.
So I turn into a Hulk now, too.
I have been analyzing your blood, and the way it synthesized gamma, I was able to use it to completely heal my arm.
Oh. Because I'm better than you?
It's just basically different.
In a better way.
So Hulk uses Jen's blood to heal himself. Okay. What confuses me is that if Jen transforms using gamma radiation, then how much radiation was in that drizzle of blood? In addition, what did Hulk use to heal himself? Her blood? The synthesizing process? Doesn't matter. Don't tell us. Anyway, so Hulk destroys the blood samples of Jen in case somebody else tries to become a Hulk. I'm sure that will be important.
Fix me. Get me back to normal.
Jen, this is not going away.
What do you mean? Give me that little device thing that you had that kept you as Bruce.
That device was a prototype. It was calibrated
Great.
specifically
Make
to me.
me one. For me. Calibrate it to me.
Can't do it,
Yes,
Jen.
you can.
Jen.
So Jen is asking for that little device Hulk had. That's reasonable. But the one that Hulk had was destroyed. Oh, that's not great. So Jen asks for Hulk for a new one. But Hulk says it can't be calibrated to her. Why? No idea. Doesn't tell us. So Jen is told she has to deal. So this is the perfect opportunity for Hulk to use all of those years of experience. And he whips out a highly detailed journal of how to deal. And with the knowledge that Hulk has, the coexistence of Jen in her Hulk form should be much easier to establish. So let's bring out her Hulk form and see how much work there is to be had.
Whoa, easy, girl. Easy.
Why are you talking to me like I'm a stray horse?
Jen?
Yeah?
Wait, you're still Jen? Right now?
Yeah? And I'm conscious.
This is incredible. You don't have an alter ego. You're the only one in there?
As far as I can tell.
What? What? Huh? So she was herself when she tried to kill those bro dudes from earlier.
Bruh!
So with the main hurdle out of the way, there still remains the control issue. Hulk tells Jen the importance of controlling her temper, because as a Hulk, just being annoyed could kill. That was a wise move.
You have so much more to learn about being a Hulk. I don't think you have thought through how dangerous this level of power is. Do you know the damage you can cause? I mean, one mistake, one freakout is literally life or death.
Okay, I'll be careful.
You can't be emotional. Forget Hulk rage. Just regular anger means death and destruction for everything and everyone around you. And I'm telling you, when people start seeing you as a monster that never goes away.
This is an important moment as it presents how dangerous her condition is, as well as the gravity of the situation. Clearly, it is vital that Jen controls her temper. Let's see how that ends up. So the training montage begins. Jen needs to get used to her new body after all. This should be a great opportunity for Hulk to use his experience to teach Jen, right? Nope! She nails everything, despite never having had this sort of power before. Okay, whatever. So after the training, Jen is anxious to get back to her old life. But Hulk says she isn't ready.
I legitimately do have a life to get back to.
I know I've been pushing you through a lot, but being a superhero is a trial by fire.
Bruce! I'm not gonna be a superhero.
What else you gonna do as a Hulk? It's not one or the other, Jen. I am trying to show you that we can live between what we want and what is. But we can't pretend like we are two of the few people on Earth that can actually protect her. Which is why we have to make sure of your ability to tolerate distress and regulate your emotions, especially your anger.
Well, here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. When I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult or might just literally get murdered. So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
So Jen says she's not emotional and provides examples of where she had held her temper. The issue is that while providing these examples, she shows that she has a temper, in addition to the fact that those examples shouldn't warrant the anger that she is supposedly suppressing. She then goes to say that she holds her temper more than Hulk, the guy who's watched his friends die, destroyed cities out of ungodly rage, and was trapped in his own head for multiple years. This is without mentioning the torment he was put through in the comics. Don't go there, stay with the show. So, Jen still tries to leave, and Hulk and Jen get into a Hulk fight. I've got gripes with one of the scenes, but in the end, Hulk gives in and Jen goes home. I think this clip summarizes the idea of this show.
Basically, I was right and Bruce was wrong, and I never have to be a Hulk.
You'll see what I mean when I say that at the end. but I'll get to that. Anyway, the episode closes with a random woman with powers doing a Kool-Aid Man into Jen's courtroom.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
And Jen reveals she is She-Hulk. Something I find interesting about that particular scene is that the reason Jen is prompted, and yeah, she has to be prompted to save the people, is with this comment from her friend Nikki.
No, do your thing. Oh, right now in front of everybody? Yes. Come on, civic duty. Jen, come on. Oh, God, I really like this outfit.
Civic duty is a responsibility expected from members of society. For example, it is Jen's civic duty to use her powers to save people. Exactly like Hulk was saying. To have those powers is to save people, to be a superhero. Sweet mama, that was the end of episode 1. Luckily, the next episodes aren't nearly as important except for the finale, which, believe me, I have words for. The next episode starts with Jen being famous for stopping evil shiny woman. We also get this little clip.
That name better not stick. It's so dumb. I can't even exist without being a derivative of the Hulk.
I find that kind of funny, because technically, she is literally a derivative of Hulk, because she got her powers from Hulk's blood. That's the definition of that. Well, not the blood thing, but whatever. She also says this infamous line.
I did not go to law school and rack up 6 figures in student loans to become a vigilante. That is for billionaires and narcissists and adult orphans for some reason.
But you could be an Avenger.
Do the Avengers offer healthcare?
I don't know.
Maternity leave, a pension? Are they even paid?
She both discredits all the beloved heroes from the past and perfectly describes today's superheroes. Part of the magic of superheroes is using powers for good, regardless of family or financial background. Jen makes it clear that she wants something in order to be a hero, and in turn doesn't understand why someone would save people for free. She then gets fired because as a Hulk she'd probably be biased for the jury a lot of the time. I don't know, there's a lot of things that some old white guy says, but yeah, she gets fired. Simply put, it was a lame excuse. So, with no job, and unable to get one because she's a Hulk, she goes to a family dinner and words are said. Doesn't really matter. Then she gets hired to do work as a superhero lawyer. Because she's a superhero. Okay. So her first case is the parole of Abomination, or Emil, who Jen doesn't like because he tried to kill Hulk, her cousin. That's fair. Hopefully this will lead to conflict between Jen's obligation as a hired lawyer and having to work to free someone who tried to harm her family. That could be interesting, right? That could be interesting, right? Jen goes to see Abomination to see if she wants to work with him, and he tells Jen he's the victim. So, long story short, Jen takes the job, but first we get this gem of stereotypes.
Hey, Jen, what's up?
Bruce, hey, listen, I got a new job.
Hey, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah, but part of the deal is I have to take on Emil Blonsky as a client, and I couldn't do that without talking to you first.
Okay,
I mean, it doesn't seem like you hold a grudge. At least you've never talked about that before. And you're always saying that, everybody deserves a second chance. And I'm not falling for an act here, but Blonsky did seem to have really good arguments, He was so compelling, and maybe I want to believe that he's reformed.
Well, sure,
Isn't rehabilitation something that we should strive for as a society?
That's what you'd
But
hope
none
for.
of that matters if you
Jen.
don't feel comfortable with it.
I think you're calling me to tell me you're taking the job.
I'm calling you to tell you I'm taking the job.
It's funny to me that this show shows so many women stereotypes when it was written by women who are against female stereotypes. Some kind of irony there. Anyway, so any chances of interesting character building between the conflict of her obligations as a lawyer and her trying to free someone who tried to harm her family instantly disappears. And episode 2 closes with Abomination, missing.
Shocking footage leaked showing the Abomination participating in what appears to be an underground fight club after having somehow escaped from prison.
Oh, that sucks.
So, episode 3 opens with Jen finding out that Wong was the one to take Abomination from his cell. We also get this hint at subliminal messaging.
Just remember whose show this actually is.
That's important later, believe me. Which brings up this scene of showing the internet hating on She-Hulk for being a woman. Why? This is the first show I've ever seen that uses sexism as an antagonist, and not in a well-constructed way either. I'll talk more about how they could have done it less rude and a more respectful and impactful way later, but for now, back to the story. She actually shows a little wisdom in her not responding to the hate on the internet, instead focusing on her job. Hey, credits for that. That's actually a good message. Do what you know is right, rather than listening to those who want to push you down. If only they had stuck with that message. So Jen gets confirmation that Wong did indeed steal Abomination, and the trial begins. This whole parole scene leans on the fact that Wong is late to testify, and Jen has to stall. This feels unprofessional, and the scene does not make me think, oh, Jen is such a great lawyer, I should have gotten her when I was sued for having my snake legs. No, it makes me think that I could have done better, which is not great, because I'm not a lawyer. The scene ends with Wong testifying, Abomination scaring some people, and the court deciding to think about it. After the trial, Jen and Nikki are drinking, and Nikki keeps bringing up how Jen should give an interview to appease the media. And the reason I bring this up is because at the time, Jen was doing the smart thing, and not engaging with the media. But instead, Nikki over here is egging her on. The reason this is an issue is that Nikki is shown as the good guy, while her actions are currently trying to take Jen down the dark side.
Bruh!
Back to Abomination, Jen gets an idea from a pointless side plot, and gets Abomination free with the condition of him never using his powers. To enforce this, they give him one of those little inhibitor things, which was the little device that Hulk wore to keep him from transforming. So why didn't Jen get to wear one of these? If they had been passing these out like candy to criminals, why couldn't Jen have gotten one? Abomination's free and Jen does a pointless interview. There's also some kind of fight scene. It wasn't really important other than we now know that there's a group of people after her blood. And, oh yeah, of course.
Taste it that, num, eat it up. Go play okay, 3, 2, 1. You know I'm the hottest, you ain't never gotta heat me up.
How broken we are. How much we really need help.
Episode 4 opens with one of the only jokes that I laughed at in this show. So, through some shenanigans, a woman falls into Wong's house, and then this happens.
Wait, this is the one where they kill Adriana. It was so sad.
You just ruined it.
Wong, why did you have to join this train wreck? Which reminds me, there's a point I wanted to talk about with an upcoming scene. In this scene, Wong wants to take legal action against a former student for misusing his magic, and Jen asks him for justification, as in a legal document forbidding magic use, or broken contracts, to which Wong replies with,
Students pledge themselves to be loyal servants of the mystic arts.
And did you get that in writing?
No. Miss Walters, we answer to a higher power that abides by the metaphysical laws of the time-space continuum.
Sure, but this is the American legal system. No judge is going to take this seriously unless we do things by the book.
And the issue with that is, in a world where gods and aliens and other dimensions exist, how do the legal standards change? You can't keep them the same as normal human standards. Like, how do you punish somebody who can destroy universes, you know? If they do work for higher powers, which higher power's law is law? Just a thought. Anyway, I've also found that I really don't like Nikki, who's supposed to be Jen's best friend. A scene that shows this is when Nikki wants to see Jen's profile pic on some dating website that she uses.
Quite nice, actually.
Oh my god. We're not using your corporate headshot as your profile photo. Jen, what's your first date gonna be? Webinar? This is exactly what
Come on.
Okay, there's no judgment. But that was a really bad choice.
That was a fine choice! She looks like a well-paid, sophisticated businesswoman, someone who's got their life together. If that's not a good first impression, I don't know what is. A profile picture like that is much more likely to attract men who are also more sophisticated. But if you dress up in a club dress with a beer in hand, you're gonna attract dirtbags who like the club lifestyle, who wanna just hook up and then drop you. Nikki also suggests to Jen to make an account using her She-Hulk persona, which I'll get into in a little bit why that's such a bad idea. I think that Nikki is a bad influence on Jen. Back to the story, there's a follow-up court scene about the magician guy, which once again enforces my thoughts of the legal system versus a greater power, because this guy gets off because no one defines the difference between magic and card tricks. There's also another joke I liked.
Why is that an alert?
I didn't laugh, but a kind of snicker escaped me. So Jen gives in to Nikki and makes a dating account with her Hulk form, which, as I was talking about before, is a bad idea. Because here's the thing about that, who are you trying to attract with this? People interested in you or people interested in She-Hulk? They're not gonna look at that and be like, that's a normal lady. I want to get to know her. I want to see if she's interesting. I want to know what she's like to see if I'll go further with her. No, they're going to look at that and be like, sweet, superhero, let's go. That's not the right message. So She-Hulk goes on a bunch of dates and then seems annoyed that the men only want to talk about what it's like being She-Hulk. It's almost like you were asking for it, huh?
I got you now, you fucking moron bitch.
And then when one guy asks She-Hulk to talk about herself, she knows he's the one and immediately hooks up with him. In the side plot, Magic Man messes up and Wong saves him, and She-Hulk intervenes to help recover all of that, and then bangs the one dude. And then the next day, when the man sees her in her human form, he leaves her. It's almost like advertising herself as She-Hulk is gonna attract people only interested in She-Hulk. What a surprise! If only somebody could have predicted this. The episode ends with that one sparkly evil woman who is called Titania from the first episode suing Jen because she trademarked the word She-Hulk. The funny part about that is that Jen didn't come up with that name, and throughout the series has said that she dislikes the name. Like, it's like evil sparkly woman is doing you a favor, Jen. Actually, as far as I can tell, the only time Jen has used She-Hulk in media is the dating account she made. Episode 5, here we go. Okay, so Jen is annoyed at Titania for stealing her name for some reason, despite all the griping about how that name was shoved onto her from some guy from the internet. I don't know. Wouldn't this be the prime opportunity to make your own name that is as unique and cool as you want? Apparently not. Also, it brings up another example of Nikki being a bad friend, with her less concerned about her friend's weird grief about her name, and more concerned about them getting free samples.
Free samples?
Also slight tangent, but I like Nikki's car. Alright, tangent over. So Jen, in fact, did screw herself over because of her claims of not liking the name She-Hulk. However, she is saved by having had her dating profile created prior to the lawsuit, so I guess that saves her. Yay, good for her. So Jen wins the case, and this is a huge pointless waste. I think this episode really shows exactly how far Jen falls. She used to be a professional and devolves to the point of devaluing herself as Jen and overvaluing herself as She-Hulk. As an example, look at this clip.
Like, think about everything that She-Hulk brings to the table, and those guys were my best option.
What exactly does She-Hulk bring to the table? Big muscles and green skin. What those men wanted was fame by association, and that's because you advertised yourself using your outward appearance as a superhero instead of with who you are as a person. Good grief, we still got 4 episodes to go. If you made it this far, good for you, and good luck. Episode 6, here we go. It's a wedding episode. Yep. There's also a subplot of a man called Mr. Immortal getting a divorce, which leads to this.
Sort of personal growth, right?
Now I'm not sure who I should worry about. The government?
Because he does it every single time.
Was
The
there
other
an
death.
insurance
Where's the
claim
other
after
death?
any of the
Like,
ends are
he's
switching
lying.
identity?
So plot twist about the wedding. Turns out evil sparkly woman is back to heckle Jen at this wedding. That's it. That's the twist. So She-Hulk fights evil sparkly woman, breaks her teeth, and Jen wins. Yay! Back with Nikki and her subplot, we learn about some group of evil men that wants to kill She-Hulk for some reason. This brings up yet another scene of Nikki being a horrible influence.
How do we kill She-Hulk? This is dark. We gotta talk to Jen.
No, she not. No.
Are you reading what I'm reading right now?
Yes, and why would you want to put that mess in her head?
It's not just that. Some of these are death threats.
Nikki, they're just trolls.
Any attention at all gives them what they want. Jen is better off. Just let her live her life.
Fine. It's called intelligentsia, and it's all of these, like, memes and death threats, okay? But Mallory said not to tell you because, you know, she said it would just make you feel bad and we should protect your headspace and let you live your life, but... I mean, you know, obviously I didn't do that.
You stupid bitch. The correct course of action is to ignore them, or if you are concerned, report it to the police so they can scout out foul play. If this is just a group of trolls, you ignore them, because the more you engage, the more likely they're going to respond. But if you feel actually threatened by them, report it to the police, because they can get involved. Or report it to other superheroes so they can get involved. Inform people. Don't just tell the one person they're targeting and then, I guess, ignore it from there. No! That's a terrible way to do it. So instead, Nikki immediately does that and tells her best friend, okay, episode 7. Oh yeah, Jen got a boyfriend in the wedding episode. That only matters because of something that happens a little later. Just wanted to mention this. Also, there's this scene. I appreciate the music, but that doesn't make me like the show better. So Abomination's power device sucker thing malfunctions, so Jen has to check it out. They fix it and it's fine, but there's suspicion that Abomination is up to something. Also, while Jen is hanging out with Abomination and his little support group, one of the guys who attacked her in the end of episode 3 arrives. And the guy in question makes some good points about how insecurity can cause an unhealthy attraction to power, which in turn can lead to him and a small group attacking She-Hulk. Is that good justification? Absolutely not. Do I think that was his actual motive? Also probably not, because of all the hints talking about them wanting Jen's blood. What I am saying is that power is not about physical strength, and I was happy that that guy was growing through the realization until he probably betrays us. Jen opens up a little bit in Abomination's weird support group, and we get to see a little bit of character development because the dude she was dating liked her for Jen, not She-Hulk. That's a step, I guess, but wouldn't it have been a more impactful and less redundant move if she had thought about that from the beginning? At least she came to the realization that when she got attention for being a Hulk and no attention as a human, then it's probably not the human they care about. That should be common sense. But again, baby steps. She then makes a bad move and then deletes the dude's number after only 3 days of no contact. If 3 days of separation is enough for Jen to move on and date somebody else, you gotta be real clingy. The episode ends with Jen going home and a little scene showing the guy that Jen was dating was working for the bad guys. Okay. Alright, 2 to go, episode 8. So Daredevil's in it, and there's people. Daredevil ends up attacking Jen's client, they forgive each other, and Jen learns that her client's a kidnapper. So Jen and Daredevil break into a warehouse, and they fix everything. Jen and Daredevil shag, and this is where the episode should have ended, but no, there's a lawyer gala to do. So, She-Hulk goes up to do a big speech, but then the screen behind her gets hijacked by the evil group of men that was hinted out throughout the series.
This is the truth, presented by Intelligentsia. She-Hulk does not deserve your attention. She does not deserve your praise. She does not deserve the power she stole from the Hulk.
Oh my god, can somebody cut this off?
Be a superhero.
Okay, can we stop this?
And she's a slut.
So that is something. In all fairness, I don't think she deserves her powers, but I also think she didn't steal them, and I also don't think that most superheroes deserve their powers when they get them. The key for superheroes is to earn your powers when you have them, right? Because most of the time powers are given to people out of the blue, and so they don't exactly deserve them from the beginning. But a lot of the time, those superheroes also do great works, and they earn their powers. And with that in mind, the key is earning them when you have them, right? And She-Hulk, with her refusal to use her powers to save people, wanting to just be a lawyer and not a superhero, is not really earning her powers. As for the last thing... That is the definition, so I mean, make your own conclusions. While I agree a little bit with what they said, insulting her in front of a lot of people is not called for. That is not the right move. Someone's sex life shouldn't matter to others unless it hurts somebody. And that's been a big issue with celebrities nowadays, with every new magazine showing every marriage and breakup that happens. It's just all unnecessary. Anyway, back to the story. So on screen it shows a clip of Jen doing the nasty with the evil boyfriend that was working for the bad guys. And Jen gets angry. Completely understandable. Then she destroys the stage out of rage. That is not good. For one thing, she is a Hulk. And Hulk already said something about this.
Mistake, one freakout is literally life or death.
Okay, I'll be careful.
You can't be emotional. Forget Hulk rage. Just regular anger means death and destruction for everything and everyone around you. And I'm telling you, when people start seeing you as a monster that never goes away.
Jen has a responsibility as a Hulk to control her anger even more than she should as a normal person, especially in these sorts of situations. And now that she's scared so many people, it might be too late to save herself. The episode ends with Jen being captured by a squad of police. Okay, last one. Come on. Almost over. So this episode opens with some actual good writing, with Jen's lawyer to tell her pretty much what I said. So Jen gets a plea deal, allowing her to go free, as long as she wears one of them power restrainers. And she's sad, because she's grown attached to her powers. But this brings up a small question I asked myself. If they can take away her powers, why didn't they do that at the beginning of the show? Bad plot. Very bad plot. That's not how you write your stories. Bad. And so Jen and Nikki are trying to sleuth out who could have done this, and Nikki blesses us with another tactful nugget of kindness.
Enough information so that we can track them down, and then we will find them and we will destroy them. By any and all means.
Legally.
I said by any and all means.
No, I am going to sue them for defamation and invasion of privacy and get them charged with unauthorized access to a protected computer.
Ugh, boring. All right, if you want to be on Jen Walters about it. Yeah, that's cool.
I don't like Nikki. She's rude and not supportive of her friends, and seems to be constantly trying to make them make bad choices. That is a bad. Jen is moping about how things have gone for her, and she says this.
This isn't even a reluctant superhero story. I'm just getting screwed over. Is this what you guys want?
No! This isn't what we wanted. This is what you gave us. We didn't ask for this type of show. This is just what you decided to give us, apparently thinking that's what we wanted. The fourth wall breaks give a true insight into what the writers thought that we wanted. But that's not what we wanted. Let me tell you. Keep this all in mind as I get back to it in a little bit. So Jen goes to stay with Abomination's weird little support group, and Nikki and a guy lawyer called Pug, who has been throughout this little story, go to this gathering of gross men to find the culprit of Jen's defamation. There's this scene where the men are comparing She-Hulk to normal Hulk.
Is She-Hulk better than the Hulk? No. Is she as strong as him? Is she as smart as him? No! She wouldn't even have her powers without him, right? Yeah. So why do we have to act like she earned everything? Here's where I'm at. Superpowers should go to the best person suited for the job, right? Exactly. Right? Yeah.
Honestly, they're not wrong. The thing about powers going to the most suited person is a different story, as some of the most compelling stories are when a person is sprung with powers and has to figure out how to use them, and if they want to use them in the right way. But practically speaking, I know that I would rather have a superhero with powers than a lawyer with powers. It's like deciding to get surgery from a surgeon with a scalpel, but then take away the scalpel, give it to the janitor, and then give the surgeon a spoon. Now I have to choose who will do the surgery. Another thing about this group of men is that people keep referring to them as trolls, and they are not what I think of as trolls. I envision this. And the reason for that is that trolls exist because they aren't talking to you face to face. They hide their faces behind a screen and can say what they want about you on the internet. They don't have any muscle behind it. They don't have any fists. They're cowards. That's why they do what they do. They aren't to be taken seriously and are safe to ignore. The way these men are shown is more like a terrorist group. It's not about, look at these gross women haters. These are not people that are supposed to be scoffed. These guys are mentally unstable and it's time to call the police. Anyway, time for the plot twist. So Jen goes to one of the lodges to talk to Abomination, only for everyone to find out it's the same place that the evil men are at. As Jen reached that conclusion, the leader of the evil men explained that the date was hired to seduce Jen and steal her blood, and with that said...
See, I didn't just get handed superpowers. I had to earn them.
This is not gonna work, right? We're not actually doing this.
Why is it?
This can't possibly be where this season was going.
Yeah, come at me, bro!
Titania busts in as well, shortly followed by the real Hulk. There's a big party. Everyone's here. Chaos is everywhere. And then...
Okay, what is even happening here? No. This is a mess. None of these storylines make any sense. Is this working for you? Hey, what do you think you're doing? This menu is not gonna stop me. I'm just gonna break this inhibitor real quick. All right, let's see here. No, yeah, no. Marvel Assembled. That'll do.
So she busts through the menu to find the makers of the show to make them change the ending? Why? It's one thing to have Deadpool, right, who's famous for his fourth wall breaks, to talk to the camera or acknowledge the fact that he's in a movie. But for She-Hulk, they're now using it as a main plot device. Something that should be taken literally as, like, if it was in real life. And that just doesn't work if you want to fit this show into the larger cinematic universe that is Marvel. Anyway, so Jen finds the writers of the show, and this line is issued.
Okay, there are certain things that are supposed to happen in a superhero story.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Why don't we just do things our own way? This is the story that Kevin wants.
This is not an excuse. First, I do believe that is somewhat true, that some things are supposed to happen in a superhero story, and that's why the line about doing things our own way doesn't work if you want it to be a part of the larger universe. There's already a pre-established universe created by many years of hard work, and you can't just rewrite that for your show. There's been an issue in recent times of this happening within Marvel. Instead of building off old events and characters, or making a cinematic universe separate from Marvel, they bring in new characters that conflict with logic and pre-established lore. It just doesn't work as a gripping, compelling story, because if everything can change at any moment, where are the stakes? Back to the story. Upon asking why they can't make their own story, Jen learns that the plot was created by someone called Kevin. So Jen goes to talk to Kevin.
Hello, Jennifer.
Kevin?
It stands for Knowledge Enhanced Visual Interconnectivity Nexus. Were you expecting a man?
Yay, big robot brain. This is followed by what I think sums up the message of She-Hulk and why it turned out so bad.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is known for its big spectacles and high-stakes plot lines, but it's often said that Marvel movies all end the same way.
Wait, who's saying that?
Perhaps this is a result of following some unwritten rule that you have to throw a bunch of plot and flash and a whole blood thing that seems super suspiciously close to Super Soldier Serum at the audience in the climax. I propose we don't have to do that. It distracts from the story, which is that my life fell apart right when I was learning to be both Jen and She-Hulk.
There are so many things to say. First is, like I said before, this show seems to really dislike the plot aspect of a show, which is fine if this was a Hallmark movie, but it's not. This is Marvel. There's supposed to be standards, and you trying to push at the restraining need of plot is lazy writing. For one thing, you added plot. It's just terrible plot. Jen blames Kevin for the blood plot and other plot-related stuff, but Kevin was written by real writers to make bad plot. So instead of making an interesting plot or having a fluff drama with no plot, you made a show with purposefully bad plot so you wouldn't have to make original plot. I've said plot so many times. Even a plotless Marvel show can be fun and cheeky, but you ruined it with this anti-plot plot. There's also this comment about leaving judgment about Marvel media up to the internet, and I think that this show is trying to say it hates people like me. like if you want to get out of having to write a good story and have to be, creative, then who will you dislike most? People like me, who aren't satisfied with the cheap, badly written drivel. Jen changes the ending to her show, and everything is happily ever after. Also, Hulk has a son now. Sweet Jiminy Christmas! With that, the plot summary's over. To start with, there are 3 main points as to why She-Hulk performed so bad. The plot sucked, the characters suck, and the message sucks. I'm not going to bring in the CGI, because while I don't think it matches to the normal standards of Marvel, I also don't think a show like this should be judged by its looks. So first, the plot sucks. I've already talked about that. As a superhero show, I personally would like some plot, but it doesn't have to have it. They could have made a comedy superhero courtroom drama with wackady shenanigans and no plot. That's also fine. What's not fine is a half-assed plot with the excuse of then trying to break through the oppressive droves of people who want plot, and then make the internet, people like me, look like the bad guy, and the ones that made it to where there was no good plot. That's just not cool. That's not how movies are supposed to be written. We are the customers, and you guys who make the movies, and your movies are the product. If I was to go to a store and ask for gloves and a body bag, and they gave me a broken toothbrush, slapped me, insulted my mother, and told me to leave, I'd be a bit miffed. There's going to be a point where too many people leave the store and stop watching this crap, and hopefully they'll make something better. Next point is the characters suck. I think that our main character, Jen, was a lost opportunity. I think she devolved throughout the series. She wasn't perfect, but she was sort of professional, and she didn't care what others thought about her. Throughout the show, however, she became insecure due to her powers. Completely understandable. What's not understandable is the fact that Jen's best friend was making Jen more insecure. Nikki is a terrible friend character. She doesn't support Jen, she belittles Jen, and she judges Jen. This is the character we're supposed to like as her friend? This even could have been fine if there was a scene where Jen confronts Nikki and they work out their differences. But instead, this show depicts Nikki as Jen's best friend. I feel like this is not right. As for the rest of the characters, there's just not much there. Jen as the main character needs to be compelling and interesting. And Jen isn't. She's entitled and quick-tempered, despite her claims of emotional control. The saddest part is that if they did make this show into a fluff drama, then the characters wouldn't have to be super fleshed out for it to work. It would have been better with interesting characters, but less necessary. Lastly, the message is awful. The biggest message I get throughout this show is that it's our fault that they can't write good shows because we are forcing them to adhere to our standards. And that is a terrible message. How is that supposed to make me eager for future installments of this franchise? I understand the idea of taking creative liberties in a movie project. In fact, I respect that more than most other things. Making a movie out of your own creativity and your guts and determination through years of work is incredibly inspiring. It deserves every ounce of respect that they should get. But for something like this, which is supposed to be a subplot in a story that's being written, right? With pre-created lore and plot and stories and stuff, and that is also supposed to continue, right? It's not just, that's not the end of the story. It's supposed to continue with this character, with this plot, with this information that is canonically true. And how are you supposed to fit that in well when we already have this stuff? There's one thing about creative liberties versus destroying lore. With my brief analysis out of the way, I wanted to bring up a couple of ways to fix these issues. The most obvious fix is the one that they supposedly wanted, which was the no-plot fluff show that has no real impact on the wider universe of Marvel. This would have been fine, and compared to what we got, it would have been welcomed with strippers and whiskey. All the strippers, all the whiskey. I'm talking not just like $1 is worth. I'm talking life savings. I'm talking pull out the stops, get the beer kegs. Dude, this is a party time. But no, we didn't get that. That's not what we got. The second and better solution is create a compelling story with interesting characters and a message that can encourage and inspire people to better themselves. To start with, it would have been much more intriguing if She-Hulk had been a Hulk, right? An alter ego bent on taking its rage out on those around it. It would have made for more tense scenes with Jen having to control her temper in order not to let the monster loose. On top of that, there could have been interesting scenes of Jen and She-Hulk talking to each other, possibly through dreams or other means. This would have been a great opportunity for character building, not only of Jen Walters, but as She-Hulk, and as well as showing the journey that Jen takes as she learns to coexist with her alter ego. That could have been pretty sweet. Obviously, the next step in making a good plot is not making the audience look like the enemy. I don't have a huge fix for the whole blood plot thing, but my best suggestion would be to link it to the next big villain in the MCU. I know that's not the greatest solution, but A, it's their job to make good content, and they're failing. So when I'm working off of what they dish out, I don't have much. B, it would end the show with it still being lighthearted and fun, and like kind of fluff-like, but with the hint of things coming in the future, not only within She-Hulk's world, but within the wider universe of Marvel. That would help rope in future viewers without taking away from those who are just watching the fun courtroom show. On to the characters. Jen, as I explained, would have been better with an alter ego plot. This could have made a cool contrasting character arc of collected and calm lawyer Jen Walters versus aggressive and confident She-Hulk. As for the rest of the characters, I'll only talk about Nikki and the antagonist. Nikki is a terrible friend. She is judgmental when Jen needs her support. She encourages and manipulates Jen into making bad choices, and she doesn't seem to care about supporting Jen at all when support is needed. She's fine at encouraging Jen when Jen is flying high, but it's like giving a man who's just eaten a bagel. It doesn't help. As to how to fix this, just make her more sympathetic and tactful. She can have moments of uncaringness, but not when we are supposed to be rooting for the main character. It makes Nikki look like an asshole. So, antagonist-wise, there's no clear-cut villain. It starts with the evil men, then it turns into bad writing as the villain, then it turns on to the Marvel fans as the villain. What I think would have been better is either doing an episode-by-episode villain, where each episode there's a small villain and Jen overcomes it through wits, or brawn, or cereal, or whatever, or you have an antagonist that you build up throughout the series by inputting superpowered goons here and there for Jen to defeat. The problem with She-Hulk is that it tries to do the build-up villain with no build-up, and while claiming it's doing the not build-up thing. It just doesn't work. Finally, the message is rude and degrading of Marvel fans who like a good superhero story, not to mention the sexist undertones against men throughout the show. See, I'm a man who likes a good story, so I felt doubly attacked throughout this show, both from the male stereotypes and the blame for why the show was bad. Have I mentioned that it was women that wrote this show? It was almost exclusively women who wrote this show. And the only reason I bring this up is because I made a lot of jokes about the female stereotypes shown in this show. I have nothing wrong with making fun of stereotypes as long as everyone is made fun of equally. But here's what they do. They make all the male stereotypes look toxic and constantly point out how evil those traits are, and they actively villainize the men, excluding 3, one of which is Hulk, one is Daredevil, and one is Pug. Do they villainize the female stereotypes? No! Instead, they make them look fun, quirky, and supportive, with the occasional like, oops, that was my bad. I feel the cake has not been sliced quite right. A great message that could have easily been implemented into this show was learning to live with change. That was so easy to add in because of Jen having so much change in this show. Jen would adapt and overcome the challenges presented by an alter ego. It could be a good touching moment about how, with hard work and determination, you can learn to live with your troubles. I know some people with Lyme's disease, and they have spent their lives dealing with that and will have to for the rest of their lives. But they push on, and She-Hulk had the opportunity to show this, but they wasted it. With that about wraps up this video. It took me a long time to do this, so obviously it's out much later. She-Hulk's been out for like a month or whatever, but I don't care. I had some things that I wanted to say, so I'm saying them. Also, I would suggest watching it for yourselves, not because it's a good show, but I don't want to put opinions in your guys' heads. So don't just base what you think the show is off of what I say. And that brings me to my other thing, which was, if you have any thoughts or like different ideas on what that show might represent, or just any interesting things that you want to say, please put them in the comments. I like to discuss things. I like to understand things. And so, obviously I am slightly biased towards myself because I'm me. Everyone is slightly biased to some degree. And so I want to kind of know what you guys think. So, and obviously there's only going to be a couple of you that respond at this stage in my YouTube career, but why not? Give it a shot. So, with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Might be a little while before I do another review video, because, whoo boy, they would take a long time to make. But, very fun. This is a very interesting experience, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!